Jasmine, I think the point, I don't think when you target benefits or give subsidies to the poorest of the poor, anyone would call it a freebie. But when a scheme is seen to benefit those who perhaps do not necessarily need the benefits, is that to be seen as Revdi culture or not, is the point I think that Harish is trying to make here.
Rajdeep, it is very easy to, discredit any good work, especially if it is not done by BJP. That's what the job of BJP spokesperson is. I would like to ask Mr. Harish Khurana, tell me how many first ladies in the US have ever visited a government school in a BJP ruled state? Tell me how many UN Secretary Generals have visited mohalla clinics or hospitals of your governments? How many former prime ministers have visited government schools or hospitals of your governments? Never. So today we are approaching the 75th anniversary of India. Let's ask the question, what is the vision that we have? This habit of poking holes into somebody else's work, today the people of Delhi are seeing the work in front of them.
Aren't you running huge debts as a result on the Delhi Jal Board? Aren't you running huge debts as a result of providing freebies?
Each and everything, Rajdeep, each and everything that Mr. Harish Khurana said is a complete lie, categorical lie. And this is true of BJP. Every fact that they say, if you ask them, they will say that not one single thing is happening in Delhi government. We don't know why.
Jasmine, Harish, just a minute. Take a pause. Let's broaden it beyond Delhi, because it's not as if freebies are only thrown at political parties here in Delhi. Prasenjit Bose, when I look at it, across this country before elections, we've had a culture from free color TVs that were notoriously provided by governments in Tamil Nadu, to free cycles that were provided in states like Bihar to girls to encourage them to go to school, higher school. How do you see from a left perspective, what is a freebie? Let's get this clear. What is a freebie in this country?
Well, I think that in a country where a very substantial proportion of the population continues to live behind even the officially defined poverty line, I think redistributive policies which either transfers income or some kind of entitlement to the poorer sections of the people, I think that to derogate that by terming it as a freebie is not fair.
No, is a color TV a freebie?
It depends on the context. I would certainly say that color TV, I don't see that to be certainly very high on the priority list as far as the needs of the poor are concerned. But I would still say that, these discussions should be contextualized in what context we are having that discussion, what impact it is having on the public finances. If I can afford it, then yes. If I can't, then you have to prioritize. And thirdly, you have to, I think a very important point was made vis-a-vis the banking, how the NPAs are being written off of very rich people. So who the transfers or the subsidies are going to, that also is a very important point. So quickly, I would like to say, number one, we are coming out of a very acute global crisis, and in India too, there was a crisis. The central government, Mr. Modi was giving free rations to the poor. He was giving, as you mentioned, PM, the Kisan Samman Nidhi. You had Ujjwala Yojana. So the Prime Minister himself, there is no consistency in what he is saying.
No, the Prime Minister says those are benefiting the poor. I think we have to make a distinction between those schemes that benefit the poor.
If the central government benefits the poor, it's good. If the state governments try to do it in their own way, it is bad. I don't think it makes any sense. It doesn't even make any common sense. You see, what I'm trying to say is, if you just look at figures, the post-COVID, the central government's public debt to GDP ratio has worsened far more significantly than all the states' debt to GDP ratio combined. Okay, the BJP spokesperson is throwing all kinds of challenges. I am challenging him with this data. You please check your facts and tell me whether the state finances today are more precarious than the central government's finances. Now what has happened is that we have given all these freebies. Now Sri Lanka has happened. So everybody is scared and everybody is saying that we can have all countries in South Asia are vulnerable. And the center now has suddenly woken up to this precarious fiscal situation and now started trying to put the burden on the state governments. I think that if belt tightening has to be advocated in this context, first of all, this tutu-meme politics doesn't help. There has to be consistent policy, and Delhi government is, I would say, given the special situation of Delhi, Delhi is a very well endowed government. They have, as the spokesperson of the AAP was mentioning, I would only say that if it is not AAP but any other political party, still the situation will be the same, because Delhi is not India. Delhi is a relatively
Right.
very
So
high per capita
but
income.
I have a list of states.
Income is high, taxes
No, no,
are
I have a
very
list
high.
of states, including Bengal, where you are at the moment, where
Exactly.
there is
There. You see,
they are
what
running
is
high debts by
No, but
providing.
Uttar Pradesh has the highest debt in the entire country.
It is
Over 6 lakh crore. It is a BJP ruled state. Look at the fiscal deficit of a state like Madhya Pradesh or even Gujarat. So, public finances do not, this kind of party politics over public finances. I think the Prime Minister has certainly not been well advised